you ready.
Okay, great. Hi, guys. I'm Jennie Friedman. I am a business coach. I'm formally trained ADHD coach, kind of have morphed over the years, and I do a lot of human design and astrology and gene keys and I Ching. Like I put a lot of mystic stuff into my work because it makes it more fun, I think, and it makes it more personal. So I was thrilled when Misha asked me to come in and just talk about like what I love to you guys. And however much you know about human design, do we have people who are like, oh, I know a bunch or some, like some, a little bit? Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, good. Well, so this is I didn't know how much human design you guys were exposed to. So this is not going to be like a human design lesson. What I decided to do was to share things, talk about things, use Mish as my guinea pig, because we all love her. And so we can, when you see what I'm doing, talking about her chart, and then you can like transfer it to your own chart, or you can ask questions. The way I like to work is, especially in a small group like this, is if you have a question in real time, like you don't have to wait for me. This isn't a blasting a presentation, okay? I really would rather it be a conversation. You can ask me just by talking to me, okay? And I'm not always great about looking over. Misha, if somebody types something, you might have to, tell me. But
I
if
got
you just unmute yourself and ask, then I'm happy to facilitate it in the conversation. Because sometimes I'll think somebody knows something that they're like, "Hey, wait, take it back a bit." Um, so fair enough. Everybody ready? Okay. So to start, let me explain that human design, I'm not an expert human design person. Like I didn't go to school for a year and a half, 4 years to be trained and certified in human design. What it was probably 2016, 17 when I had a friend start talking to me about human design. And she kept saying these things. I was like, that's so crazy. That sounds so me, but like, I just kind of didn't have the time for it. And then 2020 hit, and of course, have a little more time sitting around, and I was like, I want to find out about this. So I kind of dove in. I taught myself tarot. I taught myself human design, but I had been already exposed to it for a little bit. So it wasn't like I sat down and learned it. I have to tell you, it's so much information and it takes a long time. It's like learning astrology. Have you ever tried to learn astrology? It's just, I see we have someone else coming in. Should I let them in? Is
Yeah,
that
no,
showing
I
for
got
you?
yeah,
Okay.
I got
Um, so, it's just a lot of things. And I said, I really want to be selfish here and just use it for my own good. Like, what do I need to know? Right. Because it's just too much to know, especially when I'm not going to make it my second career or anything. So, but then I started learning with my client. I was like, hey, to my clients, like, hey guys, let's see if this works for you too. And it was wild how things were so relevant and helpful, and actually to help them find out what not to do, which human design is kind of a framework based on ancient wisdom of helping you become more in alignment with who you were here to be, is the premise, right? This guy, his name is Alan Krakauer. He created it or downloaded. I always say Moses went up, you know, came down with tablets for the world. Like this guy,
yeah.
Alan, went into the woods and came out 3 days later with like this human design download. And it was a really, he renamed himself Ra Uru Hu and became a big kind of yogi mystic kind of guy. But the information is really interesting. And since then, we've had people updating it. Karen Curry Parker now has quantum human design, which is she worked for Ra Uru Hu and she took his stuff and kind of added her own spin on things, which made me feel, and I encourage you to do the same, that this is not something that you're learning the right way versus a wrong way. This is interpretive. It's like a living document. You're supposed to take it, work with it, and think about how it works for you. Okay, so I'm inviting you to do the same. You're not trying to learn it like to become certified, like somebody's diploma. So as well with Gene Keys. Gene Keys was this guy, Richard Rudd. He was working with Ra Uru Hu. He also had a 3-day mystic experience that came back with like some downloads, but it took him a few years, I guess, to really put it all together. But his work is interesting. So you can kind of look at human design as being this like framework for how you interact with the world. And then the gene keys are how you take that same information, that same energy, the same energies, and work within yourself. So both are tools for self-development. Um, the human design aspect of how you present yourself in the world. The whole premise is that you have a true self and you have a not self. And your not self is when in coaching, I always call it your usual self, your crappy usual self that deals with things in the way that you were conditioned to believe things, which hopefully over time, through maturity or through just enlightenment, we just get to be our better selves when we let some of those old things go, right? And so human design helps you do that. And the gene keys also support that experience, but in a more internal way. However, I look at things through a marketing lens because in my job, that's what I love to help people do, is to shine, right? And if that's in business, then that becomes marketing. If it's in your job, then that's to get promotions. Like, how do you best shine so that you help the most amount of people in the easiest way possible for you, that is fun? And the whole premise of human design is that your soul designed this blueprint like 88 or 9 days before you were born. So it kind of begs the question, so who designed this, right? Like, if your soul designed it, then when things are happening to you, maybe it's okay if you took some responsibility, and that's a huge shift for people, especially if they feel very victimized by their circumstances, right? It's easy to be like, I didn't sign up for this. And it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe you did. I mean, that's the premises that the premise that you take this, I think, to have the most fun with it, because it's like going to a movie. If you go to Star Wars and you go, there are no such things as these rockets, this is BS, man, you're not going to enjoy the movie. But if you go in it going, okay, I'm going to pretend everything's true, what can I get out of this? You're going to just get a lot more out of it. Okay, so with all that said, I'm going to show Misha's chart because we need something to look at. And I'm going to share the screen if that's okay, right? Is that all right if I share the screen?
Of course. Jenny would be helpful. I found myhumandesign.com if people wanted to follow along with their individual charts. Is there another website you would recommend to use?
I recommend Jovian Archive because it gives you a free, chart immediately. You don't have to put in your email, and it's just like super easy. And that's where I get all my charts from.
All
So
right.
if you go, yep, that's it. Yep.
Yeah. So if you wanna click on that, you can get your chart up too.
Great. So let me share the screen. So when we're looking at these charts, I'm just moving some things around. Okay. You'll see it looks very weird. It looks like, okay. You see this triangle, you see all the shapes and everything. And so to kind of very generally explain it, you're looking at energy centers. Each one of the shapes are your energy centers, and they're kind of based on the chakra system. So you have like your root center down here, like your root chakra, and your solar plexus and your sacral center. And it's spleen, like your head and your ajna, that's kind of like thinking of like your brain and your mind, kind of like, so you just are looking at this your throat center. So when these shapes are white, right, that means that they're undefined. So you didn't really come into this incarnation with a point of view that you're trying to blast out, as much as you came in to just absorb and synthesize and be a part of the collective, right? When you see it's colored in, like you see Misha has, this one's colored in, this one, right? Doesn't matter the color, don't worry about that. Just the fact that it's colored in, those are centers where she's activating to push out her energy into the world. So one could generally say, oh, she's very open-minded and has can accept lots of different viewpoints. She doesn't have like a certain, if you see that you have these colored in, usually if they're both colored in, it usually means that you have a very busy mind. and that you just have a lot going on internally and can probably benefit from having a sounding board or someone to talk to. If you look down here, she's got an open root. And that generally means that she would benefit from doing grounding exercises because she's kind of like up in the air and, to get rooted because she's, as far as like her identity goes, she's pretty clear on that. This is the ID center. The G center in here is where you see your how you identify for yourself. So she's pretty clear on who she is, but being grounded is like a whole different thing. It's not about grounded in who you are, reality. It's about being grounded, like you're just very centered. And when you're someone who's a little like excited and gets intuitive hits all the time, it's easy to not stay super grounded unless you intentionally ground. But so we're just looking at this kind of to say, okay, so she has what they call a manifesting generator type. And the types are always different. There's 5 types. I'm a projector type, which means, and I guess has anybody pulled up their charts and see their type? Because the type, yeah. Okay, so Joni, yeah, what type are you?
I'm the same as Mish, so I'm looking at it. So I'm a manifesting generator and I'm a 6-2 manifesting generator. But I'm
Great.
noticing it's interesting that some of mine are white that aren't, but all our numbers are the same.
Yes, and this is what I love to point out to people, right?
Right.
Everybody has all the energy. We all have the same energy available to us. How you use it will be unique to you. So we all have these numbers. They're called gates, these little
Okay.
numbers.
And are
So
they
we
the same
all,
for everyone? It's all
everybody
the same?
has the same
Okay.
gates in the same centers. But if yours are colored in like this, like her 64 is colored in, that
Okay.
means that she's pushing that energy out. And if it's not, if it's just plain, then it means that you're just absorbing all that energy. It's undefined. So, and then these lines that connect the centers are called channels. And if you've got a channel, like see how her 20 is connected to her 57? If you have a channel that's connected like that, that's colored in, it's defined and it is something about her uniquely. And if it's open, it means that she, again, can take in whatever that channel is about, can take in all that kind of energy. So you don't, it doesn't mean that it's not defining you like, oh, you have brown hair, brown eyes. It's defining you like you have this, I would call it propensity for what, right? And this is in Misha's chart, this is the voice of alchemy. This is about alchemy, taking things and being the alchemist that, can turn crap into gold. You probably can reposition, anybody could say anything to you and you'll find a silver lining. Like you will find a way to look at it in a way that's going to be positive and helpful and work with growth minded, stuff instead of like, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a real big strength of hers, which is interesting, and stick a pin in that. I'll come back to it. But if you look at like these ones that are like halfway filled in, see like the 11 here is halfway filled in. That's where she's got like not the full channel of energy, but she's got that gate available to her in a way that she is going to be pushing out. It's available to everybody. It's just, are you the person who's going to take in different points of view in that energy? Or are you someone who's like, nope, I really feel like this, and I'm putting this out in the world. So we start to see through our definition how our soul's intention, and again, we're just going with that premise, that our soul said, this is the kind of thing that I'm designing Mish to be like putting out in the world. That will set her up to have certain experiences, that will set her up to have certain points of view and certain challenges to come to her and, well, let's see what she does, right? Let's see how she handles it. And so when you're looking at this, you can kind of get the idea like, okay, I kind of came in with some intention. There's a little bit of intention involved here. But when we talk about the two, do you see these two sides of numbers? Okay. So this side over here, the personality side, is the incarnation's side. This is your life, this lifetime's, like in astrology, kind of, right? So this is the sun, This is the Earth. This is the moon. This is your north node, south node, Mercury. This is your Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So that's how these, when you were born, that whole, like in astrology, the coordinates of when you were born dictate a lot of how this plays out to some extent. And then if I was a human design expert, I would tell you that this sun here is 70% of your neutrinos. And really, you could pay attention to little else here because this is like the majority of it. So just pay attention to that mostly. That's not how Jennie looks at it, but that's just, you know, so I want you to know, like it's, and neutrinos are the smallest little quantum measurement that says 70% of all this information bundle of Mish is in how she presents outward to the world. I find that not as helpful as to look at it in other ways. So when I take people through my trainings, I basically get them to look at over here, this design part, which is your subconscious. And just like how you may have traits that you are subconsciously prone to, well, I mean, people see that in you, right? You might not always see that in you. Or as you start to evolve, you start to go, ah, that's my usual self, right? And in human design, they call it your not self. But your subconscious, this isn't your not self. Every single one of these numbers, every single one of these gates has a self and a not self. Okay. But if I'm thinking about my subconscious and the things that I'm doing that other people see more than I see in myself, I always find that fascinating, like information, because to me, that kind of says something's happening that, you know, I may not be aware of it, you know, and I do this in tarot too. There's a position in the tarot cards where when you get to the one that says what other people see, it's just, if everyone, it's like the emperor wearing clothes or not wearing clothes. Like if everyone else sees it, it's worth looking at because that's probably an area where you are challenged. And so to me, this, if you look up this number here, and I'll tell you guys how to do that, you would go into Google, literally go into Google and put human design gate 40, right? That will tell you, you'll see all the experts and you can play around and, you know, their interpretation of this information it'll blow your mind and you'll go, oh, I can't, there's too much. But, you know, if you find someone that you resonate with, you know, you'll start to go, oh, I like the way they talk about it. But anyway, so this, you see how they're not the same. So like, if you're going to tell me 70% of my neutrinos are what everybody sees, and then the rest of it's like not as visible, I'd rather work on the not as visible stuff. That's just me. So, you know, I do think this is valuable, but what I thought I'd do with you guys, and so I want to show you now something else. So this is human design, right? We're going to just peek at the gene keys, because gene keys are, again, by a different person who took this information. And what he did, am I showing yeah. Gene keys have the same numbers as these gates. This is my gene keys. So you see, here's the neutrino, 70% neutrinos, right? Okay. And you see here that for me, tenderness, and in the human design gates, it's more friendliness, and in gene keys, it's tenderness. But this energy of being kind, tender, friendly, community builder kind of person, right? I'm this is where I shine. And then here's my earth, here's my unconscious sun. This is probably one of my biggest challenges. Then come down here, you're in your dharma, which is the purpose of your life or of this incarnation. And then we get into how you magnetize and your relationships, all this stuff in here. And then we get into this. Do you see how like there's light green coming? The outside skeleton is called your incarnation cross. And I gave Misha a link in case anyone wants to attend. I'm doing a free like Facebook event that will show a little more of that in detail. You're welcome to attend if you want to. And I'm like, it is marketing oriented. So I'm not saying if no one's interested in marketing, you still might pick up on things, but really, truly, if you could just go into Google and say, Google, 37, you will see somewhere in there, it's going to talk about friendliness and stuff. And if it mentioned, this is the Gene Keys stuff. See how it's different? I mean, it looks very like, oh my gosh, there's so much information here. They're not the same, but think about it. If I'm human design friendly, Gene Keys is saying on the inside, Jenny's probably tender and sensitive, which is what makes me outwardly friendly. So your human design is more of this outwardly thing, and your Gene Keys are more the inner, what I'm working with energies. And it goes in like, it gives you 3. That's always kind of like what I call they call it the detriment, which I always call like the bottom, the low notes of the energy. So here, tenderness, weakness, because like a coin, you cannot have tenderness if you don't have weakness. Like you have to have weakness in order to develop into, then equality and then tenderness. So this is how you can find the Gene Keys to be so helpful, because even if you just read that and thought, I'm just going to think about that today and see how that plays out in my life. Where am I being weak? Where am I realizing that there's equality? Or, how am I showing my tenderness to the world, right? You start to have a lot of self-development available to you without going to a therapist. So, you can kind of see all of these different lines. So the light green ones are a sequence. The red ones on the inside here that go up, over, and all that, that's a sequence. That's called your Venus sequence. The one on the outside is called your activation sequence, or your genius sequence. And then inside, we have what we call the pearl sequence, which is about your brand, which is, I'm going to go back now, stop sharing that, and go back to looking at Mish. I did for her, and I also gave her a link to share with you guys in case you want to have your own. Instead of $375, I charge $97 for you guys if you want to do this, but you can again do this for yourself, because I'm going to walk you through it. Just got to pull up her chart. Okay. Yep.
Actually, Jenny, I have a question too.
Yes.
So you mentioned the 5 types. So there's projector, manifesting generator, manifester, and like what is the major difference between those 5? And also
So the 5 types.
Yeah.
So the 5 types are how you basically they say it's how you use your energy, but I gotta say, like, it's deceiving to think of it that. The way I look at it is this: if you're a projector, then you're someone who orchestrates things and helps people through frameworks. That's what makes human design and astrology so appealing to me, because I am a projector. So I am hot for frameworks because I find them very helpful. Like all models, right? They're like absolute truth is in there, but none of them are true. Like, what I'm saying? Like there's information we're looking at like this so we can dissect it in a meaningful way. But like we're not walking around with little grids and little, like, it's, so you have to, but that's how I find it easier to teach people things and to get, even in just coaching and development, even in conversations, I think of frameworks and patterns. That's what projectors do. Now, if you are a manifester, you don't do that. You're someone who just intuitive hits. If you're a manifester, you're the sparker. You just go around and spark people up. And that's like really literally how you help the collective. That's your job. You're the one with the big ideas. You go around and go, here's the big idea. Here's the big idea. And then someone like, a generator is this pure energy thing that has, I'm so sorry. Wait a minute. I'm so sorry, my husband. I told him, don't interrupt me now.
Wait, what is everyone? Drop your human design number in the chat. I'm very curious because I know a lot of people on this call, so I'm very curious to see what other people are.
Yes, I want to see what you are too. Like, so we have 4, 6, what are you? 4, 6, what? 4, 6. Oh, who's a projector here? So write down, like, I'm a 2, 4 projector. That's how I would. So you're a what?
2 manifest.
So you're a 3-5 projector? Pamela, you're a 3-5 projector? Is that okay? So what that means, so there's two different things here. So let me finish with the types, then we'll do the numbers. So the 5, I mean, the manifestors are the ones that spark. Generators are the ones that just have pure, like all this energy. They just are go, go, go with energy. They just, like my husband's one. I said, don't call me now. He calls me now anyway. Because they just have energy to burn, right? Manifesting generators are a combination of the sparky types and the energy types. So you do both, and you're known as the time benders in quantum human design. So manifesting generators have energy to do all the things, but they, don't necessarily organize all the information or all the energy. And that's why projectors are needed. Projectors. So that's what you are, Pamela. You're someone someone can go, and you'll go, and you'll just sort of see how to organize it. You'll probably give great advice. Do people come to you for advice and say you give great advice? I mean, that's what projectors do. We give great advice. But no one listens to us unless you ask them. Unless they ask us, because if they don't ask us and we give them advice, they hate it. They will not listen to you. And that's what makes us go around going, told you so, which is the worst quality ever. We can't be that. That's our not self. We do not want to be that way, but it is in me still to this day. I'll tell my husband, I'm like, do this. And he didn't ask for my opinion. And I'm like, do it this way. And then he'll be like, something will fall apart. And I was like, oh, right. Yeah. Singing your song. Yes. Okay. So that's a projector. And the manifesting generators, you guys, definitely timing is an issue for you. Now, it's not always a challenge, but I would say that it usually probably shows up as a challenge if you're in your not self. So like if you're someone who doesn't naturally look at the calendar, it's like, and then the projector says, oh, just look at your calendar. And they're like, oh yeah. So the systems and stuff are the projector people, but the manifesting generator is really good with all the doingness and the ideas, like the ideas out the butt, like lots of ideas. So who else do we have here that's a manifesting generator? Oh, Tim. Hey, Tim, you're 6'2". You're just like me. You're 6'2", manifesting generator. So we've got Beck is 4'6", manifesting generator. Raul is a 3'6". So Raul, you just have energy to burn. And so what it is, if you're going to be in yourself, you're going to look and do what they call a gut check. You're going to have to do like a serious gut check before you just agree to do stuff, because you can do everything doesn't mean you should. And if your gut says, then don't do it, because you'll find yourself doing things for people that you're like, oh my God, why did I ever say I would do this? Because if you're out of alignment, if you're in your not self, you'll just be like a people pleaser kind of. But it's like, it isn't because you're trying to please people. It's because you just have a lot of energy and you're ignoring your gut. If your gut says don't do it, don't do it. Same with Pamela. If you're like not being invited for your great advice, don't give it. Like we have to wait for an invitation. Raul has to wait for his hell yes from his gut. That's when he knows he's on. And then manifestors are people that if you're out of alignment, it's because you get really mad. That's how you know that you're out of alignment, because normally you want peace. You just want to go around and say, dude, oh, here's an idea. That makes you so happy. And so that blend with what have we got here? Claire's got, I can't see that. Is that your chart, Claire?
Yeah. She's 1-3
Okay.
projector.
What's it? Can you tell me what, it says 1-3 projector?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So okay, so we'll get into the numbers now. Everybody understands kind of generally how your type is. And you can go on TikTok or Google and find all out about your type, because it's really the information most people talk about. And honestly, it probably tells you the least about you, which is why I don't dwell on it. I mean, it's very true, and but it's very top level. It's top of funnel, right? Oh, okay. You fall into the funnel. There's where all the meaty good stuff is, right? But these numbers are excellent. So 1, so Claire has a 1, and this is the other thing. See how it's 2 numbers? The first number is how you see yourself. The second number is how other people see you. So again, we have that dichotomy, like, oh, this is how I think I am, and this is how other people think I am. And they rarely match. Like there's usually not a match, but it doesn't mean because you don't see it. So like Claire, for example. So Claire, does the projector thing make sense to you about, no?
No.
What I said, you would say, no, that's not you. You're not the organizer of information or thinking
Um,
patterns.
Yeah, yes, I do. Because when we say projector, I just think like projecting information. So yeah, I mean, I do think in patterns. I map things. I'm very much visual, and I map everything out in my mind.
Do people come to you and ask you for advice?
Oh yes, yeah.
That's how you know you're a projector.
Okay.
People will come to you and ask you for your advice, and when they don't ask you for your advice, don't give it, or you will become very, like, what happens when we're being our not self, projectors will feel bitter AF. We feel resentful, jealous. We look at people and go, oh, it's evil feelings. So that's your not self that you don't, even want to mess with. If we're just being our natural self, we're just naturally successful. We just know things. We can see Z. We don't even have to see ABC. We see Z. So it's like, just be like, let go of the not self stuff. And then when it says 1-3, that's telling me that Claire sees herself, because the 1 is the investigator. So Claire needs to know details. She needs to know. In fact, I would guarantee that a 1-3 projector means that so much is going on in your head. Do you have both of these centers filled in, colored in?
The top one is full, all 3 are lit. Yeah. And then the next one down, a couple of them.
No, I don't mean the dots. I mean the colors. Is it white background or is it colored? If it's a white background, I'd be surprised, because usually 1s have colored in heads.
Okay, yeah, I think it is colored in, yeah.
And it just means you just have this like need for details. And the perfectionism that comes with that can be part of this not self that you really want to work on. And then the 3 over here, if you have a 3 in your chart, and she's got it where this is how other people see her. Have you ever heard, why don't you just stick to one thing? You keep doing all different kinds of things. Why don't you just do one thing, and then you probably go further with that? And you're like, I need to. And so you're the experimenter. You're the 3 is someone who just tries this and then this and then this and then this. So you never really land. It feels like you never really land on anything. And in human design, traditional human design, it's known as the martyr. So it can feel very much like you're taking one for the team all the time. Like, why can't I succeed? But you're succeeding every time it isn't, I don't want to say fail, but whenever something fails or falls apart, like, you're the one who's supposed to come back to the tribe and say, hey guys, don't do it that way. I tried it. It sucks. Do it this way instead. That's literally what a 3 is for. I mean, that's kind of a function of a 3. It doesn't mean it's all you do. It's just, that's what that tells me. So that's what a 1-3. We've got a 2-4 generator. So Mary is 2-4. I'm a 2-4. The 2, if you have a 2 in your chart, and I know Misha has the 2 on, we have a few 6-2s in here. If your 2 is the second number, that's other people see you as a hermit. In other words, they don't see you. That's why it's so, like, for 6-2 in marketing, it's very frustrating, because it's like, why can't people see me? Why don't they see me? What do I have to do to get people to respond to me? Like, because nobody knows what you're doing. You're just following your own path. Like, and you're 2, I'm a 2-4, right? Like, Mary's a 2-4. Our 2 means we internally feel like we can't be bothered. Like, if you're going to invite me to a party, I'm immediately, especially if I'm emotional authority, I'm going to be like, oh, that sounds like fun. But the next minute I might be like, I'm not going. And 2-4s are very funny that way, because we can just be like seeming extroverted, but we think of ourselves as hermits. I mean, I see myself as a hermit, but right now you probably wouldn't think of me as a hermit, right? Because I can be out here and very, very performative, but like, really a lot of alone time. That's what 2s need, a lot of alone time. It's also a projection field, which means that people will put on you what they think, how they think of you. It doesn't mean it's you. So they get their ideas about us. Doesn't mean they're true. So we've got a 6-2 manifester. Oh, so Jane, you're the manifester. You're the sparky one. You just go. So for you to have all these ideas, you're probably someone who's like, I need to I have a lot of ideas and I have no like desire or energy to work with someone to completion. You just want to give them the idea and let them go run with it and do the thing. Would that be right? We got Jane is on the camera here, but you could let me know if that's true or not. But that's, yeah. Last you did was a projector. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's Kathy, you have a question?
Yeah, I can't. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I can't, put anything in chat. So I came out as a 4/6 projector.
Okay. So again, like me, a projector, you're someone who thinks in patterns. You're someone who thinks in frameworks, or someone could give you a whole list of instructions or whatever, and you're going to be able to look at it and you got it. You probably have a good sense of direction. I mean, there's just sort of things about us that you're like, eh. But there's things about us that people will come to us for guidance. We are the guides. That's what a projector is, a guide. So we give good advice. If you're not finding that in your world, where that's not, then you could be out of alignment, according to human design, right? Because if you're not living, and if you're someone who feels bitter, jealous, resentful, you're a projector who is not in alignment. And I know because I was not in alignment for a very long time. I was always looking at other people and I was like, why is this working for them and it's not working for me? It made me very bitter and very jealous. And I would sometimes burn the whole thing down and start over again. We're very smart but stupid at the same time. So, yeah. Yeah, the manifestor, yes, Jane, right. So you're not a finisher. You're the one in for the sprint. You're not someone who's here to finish. You're really actually here to spark other people, and that's it. So, being paid for your ideas would be great work for you, if you can find it, right? Kind of thing. So, okay, am I caught up with this part? And so the 6 is an interesting one. A 6 is 3 parts in life. There's a beginning part of life, 0 to 30, where you're really testing. You're like a 3. You're experimenting all over the place. You're trying all different kinds of things, and lots of things are not working. And then from 30 to 50, you start to go, I'm kind of finding my way finally. I've tried lots of things and I'm kind of finding that this thing I really love, I get lit up about it. And you start to find that thing that's going to be why once you're 50, you turn into the role model. So you're not a role model till you're at least 50. When you have a 6 in your chart, I've seen this, it's cute. Like little 20-year-olds on TikTok, like, I'm a role model because I'm a 6. Well, no, you're not. Not till you're 50. So, there's a path there. There's like, you're growing into it, right? And every part of life is important, but just know that as a 6 is a 3 that morphs into a specialty, where a 3 just stays trying different things all the time, kind of like that. And it also means as a 6, even though after 50, you may be more prone to experimenting than most people, because that 3 line is still in your chart. Even if you're 4, and I didn't do 4. So 4s are the networkers. We're the people who network. I'm a 2-4, so that means I see myself as a hermit. Beck, you're a 4. So if you're 2-4, then I see myself as a hermit, but other people think of me as the opportunist, the one that finds opportunities, a marketer person, a networker person. I do a lot of referrals for people, and people refer me a lot. If you have 2 in your chart, you get referred all the time. In fact, probably more than anything, you get referrals. And so it can feel very powerless when you're marketing, like, why do I have to wait for referrals? And it's because of I could go into a whole lesson on I Ching, but there's a whole part of your energetic design that we made it that way. And what made me deep dive into human design, I was like, well, then this isn't good enough. I have to figure out how to I can't wait for referrals. That's not going to grow my business, right? So that's what kind of got me started into figuring this all out. So Pamela's a 3-5 projector. So you're the martyr. Oh, the 5. Okay, we haven't done the 5. So the 5 is known as the heretic. The 5 is the one that's like doing their own thing, kind of a rebel, kind of you're known in quantum human design as the visionary leader. So a 3-5 is someone who sees themselves as experimenting. I'm trying all these things, right? And a lot of them aren't working, but the 5 is like, other people are seeing you as a visionary leader. They're like, you are a rebel with a cause or without a cause, right? Like you're the one who's like going to like doing all these amazing things. And you're like maybe possibly not even seeing it in yourself as much as other people see it in you. So a 3-5 is we got, okay. Oh, okay. That's okay. No, the 1-3 projector. This is Jane. Oh, okay. 1-3 projector, not a 6-2 manifestor. That's okay. The 1-3 projector is where you see yourself as doing all the getting the details. You want to really investigate. You probably scrolling and investigating is your thing. Like you probably love to research, right? And then other people see you as just trying lots of different things. And if you're also a projector, then you're like me, that you think in frameworks and stuff. So 1-3 projector, what I was saying before, like Claire is also a 1-3 projector. This is someone who basically usually has a lot of going on internally in their head. And so to get it out, you probably want to work with someone, like even if it's a friend, a mate, someone that you can just bounce ideas off of, you won't feel so like, and the 1 is probably setting you up to be a little perfectionistic. I mean, listen, there's people who are perfectionists who don't have 1 in their chart, but like it lends itself because you're like, there's always something more to know. I can't put it out yet because there's something else. I'm sure there's something else. And if there's something else, then it's not complete. And if it's not complete, then it's not perfect. And if it's not perfect, then I have no business putting it out because it's not the very best thing, right? And I see, right? Claire's laughing because she knows that's how it goes. I mean, that's like and that's when someone like me, a projector, who will go, if it was just good enough for now? What if you just said, I'll come back to it, but this is what I have so far, and try to move you along a little bit because you really don't need to wait till the end of time because there's no such thing as having all the information, right?
And I think
Thank you, spot on.
Part of
Yes.
it is that we're evolving as well. So with that, we can't, because I had to let go of being a perfectionist, or I'm working on it. And it's like you have to put out where you are right now because you will evolve
Yes.
and things will change. So,
yes. See, that's a very enlightened way of thinking now, but I bet when you were younger, it was really hard.
oh yeah, I mean, up until probably about a year ago.
It's like younger. How about last year? Yeah, exactly. So those are some again, pretty high level details, but I want to show you kind of some things so that you can see what's available to you when you do this more of a deeper dive, which is, where we're just going to take a look at Mish. So when we look at here, we have, this is, she's a 6-2 emotional generator, which means she's really sensitive. And it also means emotionally, she has no way. This is when you're looking at your authority. It'll have like, are you splenic? Are you sacral? She's emotional. I'm emotional. When you're emotional, you have to, before you make a decision, you have to ride that wave, man, because 1 minute you'll be like, yeah. And the next minute you'll be like, And the next, and it's over. And I always use the example of a party because at first, if you invite me to a party, I'm going to be like, yes, because parties just sound fun and I want to go. And then I get home and I go, and then I start thinking about all the things I have to do to get ready for the party. I'm like, I think I'd rather not go. And then it's like, and the lesson to be learned in that is that there's truth. And this is big for me. This is the theme in her whole chart, is there is truth in every now moment. It does not mean that she was wrong when she first was excited, because that was true in that moment. And then you get home and you think about it and you go, that's also true in that moment. And for emotional people, we have this roller coaster we have to go through until we finally kind of level out, where we're like, you stop going back and forth and you kind of go, that's how I really feel. And that's the best time to make decisions. So for me, it's about 3 or 4 days. Some people it's a week. Some people it's 2 days. Like you just got to find what you're, and you know what I'm saying? Because Misa's just nodding her head. So when you go through your wave and then when you end up leveling out, that's when then you can make decisions that really are in alignment with who you are and not based off of fear or excitement that is just momentary, right? So looking at her audience, this is something that, looking at what I did, I'm doing the pearl sequence, okay? You know how we looked at those 3 different sequences? This is just looking at the pearl sequence. And it's known as the brand. And it's also where you shine. So even though we shine sunshiny most with our neutrinos in the sun, the whole brand sequence shows how you shine in the world. In the gene keys, those sequences kind of tell how the world sees you. Because remember, the gene keys are kind of internal stuff, but there is like an element to what people can see. So her subconscious, her conscious sun is the gate of power. It's the sovereign. It's being someone who really helps people probably be in their own majesty, be in their own, helping other people shine. Like I do it in a different way. I'm the same thing. Like I'm a 37. So we're kind of in that range of sunshiny people that like to help other people shine. And the way she does this is she holds space and listens with empathy. And these are her key words, that she listens with empathy, forgiveness, and being a keeper of secrets. And your primary action is to harness pure power for the good of the collective. So if we go down, the audience is who these people. So Misha, if you want to think about who your audience is, they're the people who are remaining receptive to the abundance of life. I think that describes your group here. People are coming here because they are like, yes, bring it on. I am open to receiving. I'm open to abundance. I'm open to authentic direction. And you as a guide in that function, you attract people who are victims in external circumstances, whether it's they feel lost because of whatever, or they feel like I have to do this because of whatever. Like they could be a stay-at-home mom and I can't leave the house because my kids, whatever. And so you're moving them from fixation on their belief that is their not self into flow and into presence. Because if you really live in this moment, this true now moment, you see the freedom is here. Even if you got kids crying in the back, like if you choose it right this minute. And so that's kind of like, but you're going to create your own new thing, which I do think is what you've done with this group too. Like you don't have to go to school for this. This is your creation on how to have people come in. Also, there's an element of dislocation, people, getting oriented and into unity. So you are a community builder, even though you're 6'2", which is funny because usually 6'2s are not always community oriented. Tony Robbins is a 6'2". So it's like there's a broad way of being 6'2" in the world. Marilyn Monroe was a 6'2". So it's, then you have your unconscious Jupiter that we look at. So if you guys want to write down 3 numbers for you to look at, I'm going to show you the chart so you can find for yourself your own, because I'm not going to go through, for time's sake, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but I'm going to tell you that what you would most look at then to find your brand, right? Oh, wrong. Nope, that's right. Here's your conscious sun, then your unconscious Mars, this number. See, it's the Mars with the arrow coming like a male. 46 is hers. You're then going to look at your Jupiters, your unconscious Jupiter, which hers is 29, and your conscious Jupiter, which is 64. These 4 numbers make up your pearl sequence. Okay. And you could say, let me find those things for myself and see how this puts, like what clues are in it for you as to how you're attracting people, working with people, and shining best in your job or in your family or in your business, right? So again, it's this top number here, this Mars number here, 46, and then the 2 Jupiters, which look like 4s. That's the symbol for Jupiter. So hers is 29 and 64. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing that again and go back to this. So once we go through looking at the pearl sequence and looking at her gifts, right? Then we go down and answer some questions. This is what I do anyway. I go down and answer some questions. These are questions my people ask me, right? And it says, how can I best connect with potential clients? So for her, it's prioritizing sharing sessions or the ways to listen to them and offer into your program. You must structure your business to honor service, community, boundaries, balance, work, and rest. You see yourself talking, and this is where we look at the Mercury. You see yourself talking about the imagination to the fullest capacity, but others are hearing you talking about the healing power of forgiveness. So you want to think about those 2 things. That's the difference in your Mercury sign between the conscious and subconscious, because if you think you're talking about this, but they're hearing this, you want to kind of pair those up in the best way possible to really get the feeling that you're more fulsomely expressing what you're here to express. What's the best way for me to serve and nurture a Facebook community? People ask me that because I'm on Facebook a lot, but you're not the networker type. Okay. And this is where I want to make a big distinction because it was so interesting to see this in her chart. Any community on Facebook that you want to host would grow slow, have low engagement, but you can have paid containers or specialty containers, right? Where you set the schedule and you facilitate. So you're in a group, you're the facilitator, not the lead, like the teacher leader type. You're more the facilitator type. And we see it here. You're totally living in your design. Your energy appeals to both personal and impersonal networks, but it's more fan club energy. Okay. So you'll have a lot of people following you and you're like, who are these people? I don't even know who these people are. People really aren't sure what you do because again, you're high. They see you, they love watching you, but they don't even know what you really do. And hosting your own podcast or a YouTube channel are really perfect for you. Batching content and automating things are really good for you. Automation's a huge friend for you. And what is fan club energy? So this is for all the 6-2s in here because you guys are all fan club energy. You naturally attract a lot of people who like to watch you, but it's very surface, okay? They just like to see you. Think of Marilyn Monroe. Everybody wanted to see her. No, not a lot of people want to sit down and have like a 3-hour therapy discussion with her, right? They can passively, it's very surface. They can passively engage with you and benefit. Do not mistake this for you not capturing all of your potential clients, okay? Hermits, that's the 2, work best one-on-one. So you have to create a hybrid of being widely available in a surface way to a lot of people and deeply available to a few high ticket people. That's how you would structure business best if you think of this with a business, right? Also, as a 6-2, how do you convert your audience? You're a gifted listener and a complex profile. The role model that you see yourself as is real, but the hermit is how others see you. So this means that you want to tap into your 3 line, that trying different things, experimenting. Experimenting comes naturally to you. Continuously playing with different ways to reach the people will help it make it less exhausting for you. Other people are like, oh my God, that sounds more exhausting. Not to a 3, not to a 6 or a 3. They're like, no, that sounds freeing. Okay, cool. I can just play. What's my best strategy in terms of business strategies is making sure that people are asking you, how can I have that? How can I do that? Because if you're ignoring that, then you're not serving them because they don't see they can benefit from you. And funnels are your friend. Again, automated things, direct everything back to your YouTube and allow the directory nature of the platform to do the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to be making daily posts. What you need to be doing is having something do that for you. So batch and schedule them. And you can make passive income. 6-2s are great for passive income opportunities. And then what should you offer? Well, because your most valuable work is delivered one-on-one, where you use your speaking and listening gifts, be sure to charge appropriately. You would be the person who could get on a stage like a Tony Robbins and deliver a speech, like deliver a motivational training. Your energy, and see, like a speaker goes on stage and in 45 minutes can make 10 grand, 20 grand, right? So you get paid that way, not like me. I'm someone who's like, oh no, one-on-one, little one-on-ones. I wish I had that big energy, but that's you. Right? So you bring the sharpness of your intuition to the world with strengthening others to be intelligent and discerning. And a private membership of the private podcast would also be really good because it would give you that low key thing with your tribe, your tribe, that they would be like, oh, good, Mish left me a podcast episode, but it doesn't have to go out to the public necessarily, right? And then what traits are you underplaying? I was looking at you have a left angle cross of duality, which indicates a powerful dance between individual power and communal harmony. And it embodies the tension and balance between personal strength and action and the need for connection and withdrawal. A lot of word, but like it's basically the channel of community for a type that normally doesn't do community. Do you see? So it's like this kind of like, oh, but that's how I do community, is I'm a facilitator, or I'm someone who says, come on, everybody, let's go. And I can stay on stage for 5 minutes, but then everybody else is going to have a turn like that. Your natural understanding of the complexities of emotional dynamics allow you to be effective facilitators in a group context. Yeah. So that's that.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yeah, I think that there's a lot to be shared in there and a lot that I can very much digest. And I know that this was a lot to take in for everyone as well. I am going to still drop this in the chat because as you can see, Jenny knows what she's talking about. So yeah, if you want to connect with Jenny, you can do that. This was so cool. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're
This
very welcome so much. Yeah, it was so fun. I mean, I love talking about this. I could talk about it endlessly, and that's what I'm trying to just share is like, you don't have to deep dive and go for days and weeks and months and years trying to figure it out. Take the keywords that you see and think about them in your life and the contextually, how do they work for you? Or how are they not working for you? Or where is there an opportunity for you to rise to the next level? Like if it's saying one word and you're like, one word and you're like, but I'm down here. Well, then think about that. Like, what's that mean to you? Because if you have it down here, then this is also available to you. You have to change how you think.
totally,
Right.
totally.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Questions?
drop the mic. I'll leave it there.
Which
Questions?
website
Oh,
did Claire get her picture from?
Oh, I
don't
got
know.
that from the link that you sent out in the email earlier, Mish. So I just quickly filled that one in.
Yep. I think I used myhumandesign.com.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just so many to get free charts, but then sometimes you have
Yes,
to
it
give
is.
them your email. So that's why
Yeah.
I was using the Hovian one, because then Jovian, whatever, then you don't have to give your email. But
Yeah, I don't think I gave my email in this one either. I know it was
oh,
only
good.
an
Okay,
hour
good.
ago.
Good to know. Yeah.
It's good. I've just Googled because there's obviously so much information available from the what it shows you. And it's fascinating. Like unraveling the right angle of cross of contagion, and the different numbers and how they work together, and the gates, and I guess the gates are your powers.
Well, they certainly are the ones that the energies that you're here to play with outward and push them out. So you might want to look at those more than anything, worry. Like some people look at the transits in the astrology report and like, oh, Pluto's coming up over this gate right now. And that's all the collective, we all have like gate 16, but is yours defined or undefined? And if it's defined, then it means that you may be sparked or triggered to put out at that certain time. I don't go that deep into it because, like I said, I'm not a human design. I'm not trying to be a human design expert.
Yeah.
I think for 1-3, you could just go nuts because yes, it's endless. And if I tell you, people study it for 4 years before they actually decide, get like oh, now you're certified. Right. Yeah. And that's why people charge a lot of money to get like a personal reading that's the full shebang. I have one that I do that's $397 that is still not going to put all the pieces together for you. But that's why I said this little one, this one here, I what you guys saw with Mish, I could do for people pretty, that even still takes me a couple hours to do, but I'm happy to do it because it generally gets people like satiated enough for like what you need, especially if you're in business. Now, if you're not, you're looking at for personal reasons, we could want to look up maybe a coach that would do a Venus sequence. That's the love, relationships sequence in the Gene Keys. I've had a few of my clients ask me to do that, but I'm like, oh man, that was like a whole nother ball of wax. Maybe one day, but like not now. Yeah.
This is so cool. I know some people have to hop off. I'm staying on, but I just wanted to say this recording is also going to be going up on YouTube as well. So I just dropped the link into the chat to our Facebook group, the Instagram, the meetup.com group, but then also the recording will on YouTube. But yeah, feel free. More questions. I know human design is such a deep science, like you were saying. So like, I know there's so many questions that people are like, what is this? What is this? What is this? I know there's so much to take in, but at least you get a very high level today.
Yeah. And I think it's, for me, it's been very enriching because it just gave me enough to make some things make sense. And it's like, oh, so it made me feel more powerful. like made me feel more sovereign. Like I was like, oh, because there's never bad news with it. It's like, oh, I'm stuck. And I see that if I focus on the next level up in the energy sequence, I actually could unstuck myself a little bit, which is, I think, just the very helpful thing about it, because I do know some of us, we're trying to do something and you don't see the forest for the trees. Whatever your thing is in your life that you're trying to do or have happen for yourself, it's like, why am I so stuck? I do think human design is good for that.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. What other
What,
questions?
is someone saying something?
Hi,
Team.
hi, this is Jane here. Um, I have a question. So I just went to my human design and um so the ones that they suggested, the environment is mountains, but I live in a city area with minimal natural environment. We have parks. We have created parks. My mountain is it's not really, I mean, it's not that accessible. I mean, yeah. So is that a suggested like a good and ideal environment, or when they say environment, or what do they mean? Like mine
So
was mountains.
yeah, I mean, I've seen people. So for me, that's one of the lesser helpful things to think about, because some of us don't have the luxury of just going and living in the environment. It does tell you
Mm,
kind of where, and in your case, it may not be true, but do you ever dream of going to the mountains? Do you think of
not
the
really.
mountains?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay. So then I would just like drop it. Don't worry about it. I mean, for me, mine is the beach. And coincidentally, I've always tried to live at the beach. And I think that's interesting. Does that inform anything else in my world? Not really. Like, so it's like, it's interesting and it's cool, but like, there's going to be some aspects to this that are just not super helpful. And I wouldn't worry about them. If they don't line up for you, just let them go. Don't worry about it. They have variables. That's another interesting thing. If you look at your chart and you see those arrows by the head, like some are going left and some are going right, this means like, it's kind of in the United States, you know how we have like a right political party that's more conservative and like the tried and true stuff, and then we have a more liberal, open, like left opposite that, and that's what the variables are. So if you've got arrows going to the right, it means that in those aspects you are more liberal, open-minded. So I know, like for me, the arrow right now, I don't have them memorized, but let's see. The arrow that's like, there's 4 of them by your head, and the arrow that's on the left bottom is your digestion. So for me, my digestion is pointing left, which means it's very conservative. Like, I don't like to have a wide variety of food. I like to eat the same thing all the time. I'm very conservative in my choices. If I go to a restaurant, I always get the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'll go, people are like, let's go somewhere new. I'm like, okay, I won't eat something new. I will order, oh, they have salmon. Good. I'm good with salmon. I'll eat the salmon. I'm a boring eater. And that's funny because it's in my chart. But like, is that super like telling me a whole bunch of things I need to know? No, it's interesting. But I'd have to look it up for you, but I know you can look that up online. It's like, what do the arrows by my head mean? Would be a good Google question, and it will tell you. But I know the bottom left is digestion, because all my other arrows are facing left, which means I'm very free, open, that kind of thing, with all the other ones, which one of them was perspective. One of them, those are the only 2 I can think of offhand. But anyway, so there's a lot of fun stuff to look at in human design. And then there's just a lot of stuff that's just like, yeah, I think for personal development, it's a great tool. In business, it's really helpful if you're trying to find your audience and understand why you are or are not getting clients at the rate you want. And there's things you can do about that, knowing your design. So that's where I kind of specialize in.
Okay. Is the chart ideal self, or does it change by season, or does it
That is your chart.
a fixed one? Like not say fixed per se, but that is the blueprint. That is the fixed. Then
The-
does it change by I mean, you know, like sometimes in spiritual realms, some things can change. I mean, does this change, or this is just in a layman term like
And it's a really good that you're calling that out. Okay, so and I tell my people, because this is how I look at, again, world according to Jennie here. You do not have to take it like it, but to me, I kind of get the feeling, right, that our souls said, you know, we're narrow. There's all that is, right? There's all that is, and your soul is like this perspective, right, of all that is. There's just to create differentiation so that you become a unique individual collection of information, right? So it's kind of like you were sent to a restaurant, given a menu, and told order anything off the menu you want. Anything. Free will, your choice. You're in the restaurant that you were sent to, and you know, this is the menu, but you can have anything on there. Now that's just the world according to me, because it does seem to have not utter flexibility. And I think people that go, well, Jennie, I've moved all over the place and I've lived everywhere, so that my restaurant's all over, in any restaurant. I'm like, no, that's your restaurant, the restaurant of changing where you live. That's the restaurant. Like, so it does seem like there's like certain experiences that are going to be in your life path. It's fixed in the sense of maybe, you know, this is the restaurant and this is the menu, but you have so much freedom and choice. And if you look at the energies, you find that there's more than enough to chew on, because each energy has a detriment, a midsection, and they call it exaltation at the highest. And those are just words in our language. Like, actually, energy doesn't have language. Like, that's just, we did that, right? So we're looking at the low notes. I always think of it like music. Are you playing the low notes that kind of softly, like, keep you kind of feeling comfortable? Are you getting a little more daring? Are you feeling more full? Are you expanding? And then when we're in exaltation energy of whatever the word is, we are fully like feeling expansive, and potential is unlimited. So you're not fixed as a soul. It's like, these are the energies we want you to play with. And let's see what you do with them, right? And you have a different, unique combination of how you'll play with those. So you're not fixed, fated what happens, I don't think. But there are some things about, like, the chart doesn't change. The chart's the chart. And it's based on when you came in, that coordination has something to do with how this is going to play out a little bit, you know?
Okay,
I don't
thank
know if
you.
that makes sense. And like I said, that's the world according to Jennie. You might find someone who says something completely different. So I'm not claiming to know the ultimate truth, but for me, it's helpful to think of it that way, because it also helps my nervous system. I don't want to think I have all the choices of all the lands. Like, I can't handle that. You know?
Amazing. Well, I think I saw a couple people had to hop off, but
Yeah.
thank you, Jennie.
This
has
was
been
fun. Absolutely.
so much fun. There's so
So
much
much fun.
But yeah,
I know it's endless, but so Misha, could I talk to you afterwards?
Yeah, of course, no problem. Yeah, so thank you everybody who was able to join today. Appreciate you. Feel free, all the links are in the chat. But yeah, hope you enjoy the rest of your
Thank you.
Thursday. And yeah, I'll see you on the next event.
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.